Today I'm going to spill all my secrets about my favorite roasted tomato soup so that you can recreate this perfection at home, and you'll be sending me all of your comments and emails telling me that your life has changed. You ready to do it? Let's get started. Hi, welcome. My name's Christina and I am a registered dietitian, an environmental educator, and creator of the plant-based recipe and sustainable living blog Fork in the Road. I truly believe that sustainable living starts in the kitchen. Here's why you're gonna love this roasted tomato leek soup. It's super creamy without adding any dairy. I have made this recipe so many times now that I have perfected the ratio of all of the ingredients, and I'm going to share those secrets with you today. It's also super easy. Like, I'm talking, it comes together in about 40 minutes. There's no simmer this soup for 60 minutes and you're waiting and waiting, your mouth is watering, your tummy is rumbling. No, I've done that before, and then I did it for 15 or 20 minutes and it tastes exactly the same. This is on the table from start to finish in 45 minutes. This recipe is also super great for freezing. When it's tomato season and you are drowning in tomatoes, of course we're not complaining about that. This is a really great recipe to use up a bunch of tomatoes at once, and then you can freeze it for later and enjoy fresh tomato soup throughout the entire winter. So let's talk about the ingredients you'll need for this soup. The main thing you're going to need is, shocker, I know, tomatoes. I've tried this soup with many different types of tomato varieties, and I will say my favorites are either Roma, a large heirloom, or kind of a beefsteak type, or these little plum type tomatoes. I will tell you from experience that the tomatoes I would not use in a tomato soup are cherry tomatoes. And I say this with love. I absolutely love cherry tomatoes. I have so many in my garden right now, but I would not make another tomato soup with cherry tomatoes because they pack a lot of flavor into a tiny little tomato. And whenever you put them all together in a soup, you get this really condensed tomato taste, and it's almost too much. If you have a few cherry tomatoes you're trying to get rid of, that's absolutely fine to roast those as well. But I would really make these three types of tomatoes that I mentioned already, I would make those the core of what you're using. The first thing you want to do when making roasted tomato soup is to preheat your oven. I always put it to about 400, maybe 425 degrees Fahrenheit, about 200 degrees Celsius, and let that preheat while you prep the ingredients. You'll want to prep your baking sheet. I used a silicone baking mat on top of it. It's an eco-friendly alternative to something like parchment paper. Then I take all of the tomatoes and I cut them in half and add them to the baking sheet. And once I have filled that baking sheet with tomatoes, it's probably going to be like 2 or 3 pounds worth of tomatoes. Then I sprinkle that with salt and pepper and a little bit of red pepper, and I add to the preheated oven. And I'm going to roast these tomatoes in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes while I'm prepping the rest of the soup ingredients. You do not want to overcook them. We're going to want to take them out of the oven is when they are starting to brown on top. They have released their liquid, but that liquid hasn't dried up, because that liquid from the tomatoes is actually going to be part of the liquid that we are going to use to flavor the soup. While the tomatoes are cooking, it's time to prep the rest of the soup ingredients. First, I'm going to take a leek, and they grow on the ground like most vegetables, but they have so many hidden folds that a lot of dirt will typically get inside. So here's the best way to cut them and keep them clean. Cut off the end with the roots, and then take off the first 1 or 2 layers. Once I get down a couple of layers, you will see there's a long white smooth part of the leek. I will cut and stop right before the leeks start to get dark and where the dirt has collected on the leek. Then I'm also going to slice up my garlic, and after that, it's time to start cooking on the stovetop. I want to add my soup pot or Dutch oven to the stove and turn on the heat to about medium high, and add a little bit of olive oil. Then once the oil is heated, I will add the leeks to the pot and cook them for about 3 to 5 minutes, or until they start to get soft. Then I'll add the sliced garlic and let that cook for a few minutes more until the garlic releases its aromatic oils and you get that beautiful, delicious garlic smell in the air. And at about now, it's probably time to check on the tomatoes. You'll know they're ready when they have released a lot of their liquid and they've got that nice browning on the top, which translates to some really delicious flavor in the soup. When the tomatoes are ready, add the roasted tomatoes and their liquid from the pan into the soup pot. So do this carefully. You don't want to burn yourself, but make sure that you're saving as much of that tomato liquid as you can. Once the tomatoes are into the soup pot, then I will add my basil, any other fresh herbs that I'm using, maybe a little bit more salt and pepper, a little bit of red pepper, and then some vegetable broth. I want the liquid to have slightly lifted the ingredients off the bottom of the pan so they're suspended in the liquid, but I don't want there to be so much extra liquid in the pan. You can see in this video, there's definitely some liquid in there, but it's still packed full with those tomatoes because they will continue to cook as you simmer the soup. They will continue to release their liquid. It would be much easier for us to add a little bit more vegetable broth later than to take more vegetable broth away. Always err on the side of less vegetable broth than you actually need. Now it's time to simmer the soup. First, turn your heat up to high. Get that soup up to a rolling boil to really help those ingredients to release their flavors. Then reduce the heat back down to about medium-low. Add the lid on top of your soup pot or Dutch oven and then let it simmer for about 20 minutes. I have done a lot of testing with this soup. I have made it so many times, and I have done different soups in the past where they tell you to let it simmer for 60 minutes. No, you do not need to simmer the soup for 60 minutes. There's just no point in it. The only reason you would ever need to simmer the soup for 60 minutes is if you added way too much liquid and you're just trying to cook some of the liquid off. Like a good 15-20 minutes, you're gonna have the exact same flavor as if you simmered this for 60 minutes. I've tested it. I'm just telling you right now, you don't need to simmer soups as long as other people are telling you. Just saying. When the soup is done, I turn off the heat and then I use an immersion blender and blend the soup until it is smooth. What do you do if you don't have an immersion blender? You have options. Before I ever got an immersion blender, I actually used to just scoop it into a blender and then blend it and then pour it back into the pot. It was a lot of work, but it works as well, and sometimes you gotta get scrappy. At this point, I'll give it a taste. Does it need any more salt or pepper, a little bit of red pepper, any other herbs, and I'll add those at this time. Then you're done, and the soup is ready to serve. Some of my favorite ways to serve this soup is with some crusty toasted garlic bread or with a plant-based grilled cheese, and I absolutely love to make homemade croutons from stale bread, and I will leave a recipe link up here somewhere so you can add those on top as well for a really nice zesty crunch. To store this soup, just put into an airtight container into the refrigerator for maybe 4 or 5 days. And if you'd like to freeze this soup, just bring it to room temperature, put it in a freezer-friendly container, and you can freeze for up to 2 or even 3 months, maybe even longer. I've just never tried it because it never lasts that long. I hope you love this roasted tomato leek soup. Click the recipe link in the description to head on over to forkontheroad.co, print the recipe card, and if you try this recipe, please leave a comment on this video and let me know how it turned out. I want to know that you love this recipe as much as I do. And if you'd like more seasonal plant-based recipes and tips for going green in the kitchen, like and subscribe and come back every week when I release new videos all about sustainable living.